Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we are unpacking a deeply unsettling case, and honestly, it's a tough one. We're looking into the tragic death of a 26-year-old Pune businessman named Ketan Agrawal. Now, on the surface, this looked like a terrible, heartbreaking accident at a picturesque historic site. But as we start peeling back the layers of the source material today, you're going to see how a seemingly perfect romance allegedly spiraled into a calculated, chilling plot. All right, let's dive right into this. So picture this. It's June 18th, and a frantic distress call comes in. Ketan's fiancée, Sia Goyal, reports to the police that Ketan had slipped and fallen into the valley at Pune's iconic Lohagarh fort. She explains that they were out there to celebrate her birthday, and he just lost his footing while taking some pictures. And, at first, the authorities took this totally at face value. I mean, accidents happen at high altitudes all the time, right? So initially, the police treated it strictly as an accidental death. But this forces us to ask a really absolutely crucial question. Was this actually a tragic accident? Well, Ketan's family certainly didn't think so. They immediately pointed out a massive red flag. Ketan was an experienced trekker. To the people who knew him best, the idea that he would just spontaneously slip and fall while taking a simple photo seemed highly improbable. The family's deep suspicions prompted them to formally ask the police to investigate Sathia's role in the incident. And let me tell you, that is exactly where the accidental death theory begins to completely fall apart. Section 1. The sabotaged Bali trip. To really understand what happened on that mountain on June 18th, we have to rewind a bit and look at the first major red flag that disrupted this couple's picture-perfect November wedding plans. When we look at how incredibly fast things deteriorated, a very dark pattern starts to emerge. They got engaged in February, planning this big, lavish wedding for November. But look right here at June 6th. The couple, along with two others, were supposed to fly out for a trip to Bali. That trip was abruptly canceled, setting off a bizarre chain of events that led to a first attempt on his life in mid-June and ultimately the fatal fall on June 18th.
Now, the reason that Bali trip was canceled is exactly why Ketan's family grew so suspicious. On the way to the airport, the group stops at a hotel for breakfast. Suddenly, Ketan's passport is allegedly stolen, forcing them to scrap the entire international trip. But it makes absolutely no sense. Only Ketan's passport went missing. The cash, which was kept in the exact same suitcase, was completely untouched. According to the later police investigation, it turns out Sia herself allegedly tore up the passport and flushed it in the hotel washroom. It was an act of deliberate sabotage.
Section 2. The failed first attempt. So, with Bali officially off the table, the couple decides to pivot and just go for a local trek instead. During this initial trek to Lohagarh Fort in mid-June, Sia allegedly makes her first attempt on Ketan's life. According to statements his grieving father gave to the police, Sia pushed Ketan. But Ketan miraculously managed to save himself by grabbing onto a nearby tree. Sia immediately spun a story, claiming, "Oh, there was a snake, I pushed you to save your life." As his heartbroken father said, Ketan didn't realize for a single second that her intentions were evil. He believed her completely. Section 3. The fatal birthday celebration. Because Ketan bought the snake story, he continued to trust his fiancée. Being a loving guy, he actually books a resort to celebrate Sia's upcoming birthday. But Sia flatly refuses the resort. Instead, she demands, literally insists, that they celebrate back at Lohagarh Fort, the exact same place he had almost died just days prior. She tells him a group of her friends are going to join them. When Ketan understandably hesitates, Sia deploys some intense emotional manipulation. She actually video calls Ketan's own mother, begging her to convince Ketan to agree to the trip. And eventually, tragically, he caves in. And this brings us to a massive revelation in the case. Enter Chetan Chaudhary. This wasn't just some spontaneous trip with a group of friends like Sia had promised. Chetan was Sia's secret lover, and they had reportedly known each other for over a year. While Sia and Ketan traveled to the fort together, Chetan arrived completely separately on a two-wheeler to meet them there. The stage was set for the alleged conspiracy. According to the police reconstruction, here is what allegedly happened next. Sia and Chetan together lured Ketan to a secluded, isolated area of the fort. Once they were totally away from any witnesses, they allegedly struck Ketan with an object to incapacitate him, and then they brutally threw him from the top of the fort into the valley below. Section 4. Uncovering the conspiracy. The pivot from a purported tragic accident to a full-blown murder investigation was swift, the minute the family got involved. And the police work here, led by SP Sandeep Singh Gill, was incredibly thorough. Step 1, they dug right into confidential sources and technical evidence, which is likely would expose that hidden connection between Saya and Chetan. Step 2 involved gathering witness statements to track their exact movements. But step 3 is honestly fascinating. They actually took the co-accused, Chetan, back to Lohagarh fort and recreated the crime scene by throwing a fiber dummy into the 300-foot gorge. They even conducted forensic gait analysis. Faced with this mountain of evidence, step 4 was inevitable. Both individuals confessed during interrogation. As we piece this whole puzzle together, there is an incredibly tragic irony here, and it's a stark reminder to always trust your gut when something feels off. According to reports, soon after the engagement, Ketan had actually been repeatedly asking his father if he had thoroughly verified Saya's background. He suspected an affair was happening prior to his death. On top of that, police suspects that right after the fatal fall, Saya actually took Ketan's phone and deleted crucial evidence before handing the device over to his relatives. She was allegedly trying to cover her tracks right up to the very end. It's really vital that we ground this explainer not just in the cold facts and police procedures, but in the profound human reality of what happened here. This quote from Ketan's father captures a bewilderment that is just hard to shake. He said, if she didn't want to get married, she could have simply refused. We would have canceled the wedding immediately. It highlights the total senselessness of it all. Why resort to murder when walking away was a perfectly viable option? The absolute cruelty required to execute this alleged plot against a 26-year-old is staggering. Ketan's father is now urging the government to fast-track the case, stating that the accused deserve the strictest possible punishment to send a clear message. The investigation is still ongoing, so justice must run its course. But as you reflect on the facts we've walked through today, from that sabotaged Bali trip to the unbelievable snake story, all the way to the final fatal push, it leaves us with a pretty chilling question. How does a seemingly normal engagement hide such a deeply calculated, deliberate level of premeditation? Think about that for a second. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and stay curious as we continue to break down the facts behind the headlines. See you next time.